masculinity that we have put in front of us is so intertwined with who holds power that it's very difficult to untangle it with any success, and for me that's why we get people ridiculed for not wanting to do things that show physical strength or determination. We get people playing a game in a group that says, I'm better than this guy and this is how I'm showing you, aren't I great and big and strong and powerful? And if you look at, obviously I'm not the expert in the room at advertising, but if you look at glossy magazines, the advertising throughout glossy magazines that picture men, they're able-bodied, they're rich, they've got beautiful women hanging off them, they've got beautiful clothes, they're usually built very physically to that macho ideal, and it's just constant that that's what you have to aspire to. So to ever step away from that, which most people have to, it's not normal life, but to ever say that's not what I want this other thing that's about sharing and caring and enjoying life and not chasing stuff I'm never going to get, it's not allowed. It doesn't fit the predominant mould. So
well, who says it's not allowed?
Society. That's why you get ridiculed. As much as we don't like to admit it, humans have a pack mentality. We like to fit in, we like to be accepted. It's unpleasant to not be accepted. It causes friction, it causes pressure. It's an easier life to not step out of line. And that results in things that we've talked about in the group. You know, do we call people out? Do we challenge people's behaviour when we're in the pub with a group of guys? Do we challenge somebody that we don't know if they're exhibiting behaviour that's unacceptable? Do we step up? And if we're stepping up to challenge something that's blokey, matey behaviour, you are definitely putting your head above the parapet, and it's uncomfortable. So even though, for me, right, the vast majority of men in the world have no power, they really don't. They might be bigger and stronger than a female partner, or bigger and stronger than their kids. But other than that, they're a pawn like everybody else is a pawn. But we're not brought up to believe that. You know, you're brought up to say, I can cope and I can do it and I can handle it and I'm going to be better than the rest. And it might not be by your parents, but by the entertainment that we value and that money is spent on in advertising and everything that says, here are messages about what men want and what men do if they're successful. And this is what you should copy. It's all that macho nonsense.
So the promotion of this concept of an alpha male is pretty much the way men are perceived in society, is what I'm hearing.
From my perspective, that's what I see going on, and I may be like reinforcing my own beliefs in it by picking out what I want to see. But you know, I've got a little boy as well. He's 8. Already, the behaviours he's displaying that come from school, and they're not from home, because we don't let anything rest that is oppressive to his little sister. He's starting to display and work out how he's top dog in the family, you know, being competitive, proving his strength, proving he's fastest and biggest and cleverest. And it's a lot of pressure, because it's much easier for him to not have to do that all the time. It's very sad. And that's why I got involved with this, I suppose. You know, in our little corner of the world, if we are saying, come on guys, you can be who you want to be, and the rest of us will back you up with it, then it's a positive message, and it's one to be applauded and to be part of.
No matter what part of the world you're in, there's that kind of hierarchy. It's seen as the male dominant figure, and a lot of people follow that narrative automatically. They have to fall into that. And all cultures recognise that, and it's a very common belief, and so people tend to use that as an example of where how men should be perceived and how they should grow up to be like, and the position of where women should be within that society as well. It's sad because it does cause a lot of problems for when you're a kid and you're growing up and you don't fit those roles, and you're dealing with a lot of torment from other people and negativity because you're not accepting what other people feel that you should be like. And that thing about in the changing rooms, like people getting changed and they all have to be like butt naked, and that to me is disgusting. I mean, I think that whole practice is like, I don't want somebody's bare backside in my face. It's just like, it's not about manhood or anything. It's disgusting. Just keep it away. I just like my private space. What's wrong with that? And you can't say that, because if you say that, then you're perceived as less manly. But it's nothing to do with me being ashamed. It's just, I like my privacy. I don't like exposing myself. It's just my own personal thing. I don't want to see other people walking past me with their manhood. You just keep it to yourself. Thank you very much, but it doesn't kind of appeal to me. I'd rather not.
It's not even just exclusive to like school days. Recently I was over playing badminton in where were we? It was over in, I can't remember one of the places. It was a Glasgow club place, and then we were going out to get a curry afterwards, right? So it was badminton hour, 3 of us, and then quick shower, and then off for curry and a couple of pints with the lads. Happy days, right? Sounded great. Get to the changing rooms. Now maybe I'm feeling like I'm possibly being a little bit middle class, which is what I said to the guys at the time. I was like, this is no Nuffield facilities here. I was like, what's with the communal shower? Yeah. And then they're like, oh, that's just like normal. I was like, where? Yeah. Like, what? Yeah. Like, what? I mean, as much as I like you guys, like, I don't need to be seeing that. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's also, it's cultural, because I went to live in Germany for a year and nobody would bat an eyelid about that.
I know. Do you know what? It's funny you should say that. I was going to say the same thing about Spain and like topless beaches and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And like Greece. I was in Greece and like I didn't know where to look, and I'm sort of sat there like, and there's all these ladies parading about the place, bits everywhere, and I'm like, oh my days, I don't know what I just keep my eye on. I just look forward, So it's not exclusive to just like guys. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're right. It's like totally a cultural thing. But yeah, I don't know. But then you're right. I think the thing is that then you're made to feel like, I don't know, less of a man because if they want to go off and have a shower, whatever, man. Like that's up to them. Yeah. But then I'm like, do I really want to be stripping that? I don't know if I want to do that. Yeah. Do you know? Yeah. It's not. It's probably more about that than it is about. Like, I'd be more comfortable just to be like, I'll just shower when I get home. Yeah. To be honest. Yeah. Because I don't want to take my clothes off in your presence. That's my issue. Yeah. It's not even about them. Yeah. To be fair.
It's not about hiding anything. It's just you don't feel comfortable with that, and you just want to be part of that. Why should you have to accept it? I don't get that.
So then why should you have to accept the mold of being the alpha male?
Because that's a predominant expectation. When you go to these places, you're the minority, very much the minority, and they're the majority. You're the one who's seen as, oh, he's an odd fella. What's wrong with him? We're all doing it, and maybe he's ashamed of something, and it becomes more, and the story just, it becomes more that there's something wrong with this guy, or maybe he's ashamed of, whatever, or he's not a real man or whatever, it's, Yeah.
This is one of the subjects I find really fascinating, because we've all said at some point in the conversations, I got to the point where I just wasn't bothered anymore about other people's opinions. But not being a real man is really difficult to ever completely get away from. Whether it's I have to be a provider, whether it's I have to be able to control my kids in a certain way when we're out. Otherwise, what kind of father am I? I have to look in a particular way if I'm in a particular situation, or I have to like certain things. And yes, as you get older, it's easier to not always actually follow it. But that doesn't mean in the back of your mind there isn't a little voice saying, this isn't quite right, you're not quite fitting in. So yeah, it just never seems to go away. I don't seem to be able to grow out of that somehow. That there's that niggling thing that, am I doing a man right, or being a man in the right way?
Well, what is the right way?
Well, I don't believe there is one. That's the really daft thing. For me, there is no masculinity. There's commonalities within it, but everybody's unique. And they really are.
I made the decision that it wasn't for me, right? And he said, well, it's not an option for me. And I was like,
who are you to decide?
it is an option for you.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, it's not. And I was like, yes, it is. And you can see how this went, right? And I was like, no. And I was like, okay, well, I'm telling you now, it's an option. So there you go, now it's an option. And he was like, it's not that straightforward. And I was like, so what you're basically telling me is that in your direct society where you live, you're telling me that you cannot give up your religion because you'll be basically kicked out. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I don't like that, and yeah.
What about that sparked a chord?
To be honest, I didn't like the lack of control that he had around that situation, and that frustrated me immensely. It was kind of like what you were saying. Do you know what I mean? That's a part of that scenario that I don't like.
But that scenario, in my understanding of the difference between faith and religion, and where you start to put politics on top of that, or surround governance or with theology, it doesn't really work, because you are telling people that they will do things in a certain way rather than allowing people to find their faith and prove it to themselves over time. And if you keep religion out of politics, you don't hit that situation quite as badly. You'll still have communities that want you to grow up in the way that they have decided is the right way, but there isn't that extra layer of all-pervading civic control that there are in quite a few countries that have declared themselves to be, absolutely Christian or Muslim, or in India I think you have states that sort of declare they'll be Hindu or they'll be Muslim, or Sikh even. But for me, it's that where the problem lies is trying to force people.
So do you guys feel like you have an option? Is I suppose where I was getting towards with that. Because I'm trying to understand like the difference in like his situation.
Yeah. So at the start, I totally got what you said, where we were expected to believe without question, and that didn't suit me. And that was almost like the guy saying to you, you don't have a choice, because that is just the way it is. They're so ingrained in their idea that they're so right, that how can you not possibly conceive that? And even if you don't conceive it, I'm telling you, it's almost that stubbornness of like, it's like,
don't like it?
yeah,
On you go.
yeah. So I mean, so I never really internalized religion deep enough at that time because I didn't agree with it, and I kept myself kind of arm's length. I just went enough to kind of show face and show that I'm kind of still a Muslim because I'm still coming through the mosque door and coming back out. So I'm just doing my duty because it's expected of me. But as I say, when you meet true people of faith, they'll enlighten you in the sense of they'll help you understand, and they'll take you through a journey, and that journey is for you and you only. It'll be different from this man, it will be different for yourself. It's never the same there's not one remedy for everyone, and that's the beauty of it. And so when I met this person, he's seen me, seen my condition, he's seen my level of understanding as well. He didn't start speaking to me academically. He knew, I'm just like layman's term, and he, relate with this guy. And then, so his interest, he recognised my interests and built a sort of commonality between us that we can have this shared communication. And through that, we then kind of started this dialogue. And it was very refreshing because I wasn't told what to do, I wasn't told what to believe, I wasn't expected to be a certain type of Muslim. I was left to discover that myself. This is why, there is, and this is a benefit from it, and that's it. Now, it wasn't now do it, or now practice it, or now preach it. It was there it is, and it's up to me to take it or to leave it. It was my choice. And for me, I seen the benefits in it, and I understood. I invested enough time in it, and I reflected upon it enough to realise this is the way I do want to go. So those kind of pig-headed kind of individuals you're always going to get, and I guess you get that in any kind of faith-driven societies.
I mean, mine's quite similar to yours. It was more growing up. It was a lack of understanding. So I remember just believing something, or faith in something. I don't actually understand what's going on here. Only when I got older, I actually met individuals that I synced with and spoke in a way that I could understand what's going on. And then I had my own kind of organic kind of journey, and I was asking questions of this, but that, like, so I've kind of found my own way in a natural way, and then so it was always, so I felt couldn't control what's going on. But rather when young, it was the household was fine. You've just gone out and people were, you need to pray, and you're like, why? You just need to pray, but why? But so, but there was no one to answer questions outside. Only when I was getting older, speaking to individuals that I just think with,
Do you think it was when you found your voice that then you started questioning this and decided that, I'm just going to tell them as it is, this isn't for me? Because before that, perhaps, were you...
I knew very early on as a child that I didn't believe in God. I just never got it. I loved the Bible stories. I loved Samson. And King David and all them, and Daniel walking through the fire and all this stuff that's in the Bible. They were, as a little boy, they were my first superheroes, if you like. But even, I would say 6-7 years old, that in my heart and my head I thought these are stories, and I just don't get this praying stuff that people do. And over the following years, more into my early teens, I suppose, read more widely about whatever I could read about in terms of history and philosophy, and as you do when you're a kid. But the years from sort of 15 to 25, those 10 years, most of it I pretended to be somebody that I wasn't. And looking back, I don't know why I did it. There was a holiday that I went on with my parents when I was 15, and I'd just done my GCSEs, or O-levels as they were then. And I spent a lot of the week with a family that were, they were interested in why my parents were religious and why I wasn't with them in the little town we were in. And I was quite open with them about it. And they talked to me about, leaving home, going my own way, going to university. And I just had I didn't have the capacity to do it. I'm not that kind of person, or I wasn't that kind of person as a teenager.
In 2003, I think it was, my wife and I decided to leave London, where we were living at the time, and go somewhere different. And that somewhere different ended up being Inverness. That's different, yeah. They do, some of them allegedly do have webbed feet there, but no, for all the Inverness viewers, I really enjoyed my time there. But it was actually, it took a long, long time to make friends there, probably about 7 years. We were setting up, ourselves as a new company and so forth, and so most of the acquaintances you make are just acquaintances. And friends were difficult, although oddly enough, I met one of my childhood friends who had also moved to the area. Wow. And we have continued to keep in touch there to this day, so he actually classes as my oldest friend. The other perspective is that about 4 years ago, I went on a sort of a scholarship program over to the States for 3 months, and there were, I think, 27 of us went over. And a sizable proportion of those have become friends that I keep in contact with. But it almost took that school-like environment for it to happen once again. And going back to a point that you made earlier as well, I have the life lessons now to actually work out, I'm never going to get on with you. Let's not try. It's no skin off anybody's nose here. We're adults. Yeah. Just put you to one side because we're different. Yeah. We have nothing at all in common, and we can be pleasant to each other, but we're not going to keep in contact, and that kind of thing.
I've got a simpler look and a take on these things now. If someone's good to me and they show respect, I'm even kinder to them and give them even more respect. And that works for me. And what that does is I can then create an environment of friends that are pleasant and that are kind, and they're just decent people, polite, decent people, and I like that. And I want my life to be surrounded with people of that nature. Have a laugh, have a banter, take a mick at me, but in a way that you're not actually laughing at me, but with me. It's very, very simple. I've kind of simplified it a lot in that sense. And yeah, I'm very kind of open with people, and my household's pretty open in that sense as well. And I enjoy that. I like that experience because it keeps me happy and it keeps me in a good place as well. Being surrounded with people that are smiling, that are joking, that are pleasant, that they just want to be in your company and just be nice, kind people. It's a healthy place for me, and it's very simple for me, to be honest. That could end up into long-term relationships, or maybe just the sheer fact that people's schedules and my schedules, we don't see anyone, but when we do, it's still pleasant. So not because we don't see everyone on a regular basis doesn't mean that we're not good friends. Just a simple fact that we have that commonality of sharing, and just being polite with one another and being kind to one another, is perfect. I'm happy with that.
So on the topic of healthy boundaries,
Yeah.
are there other healthy boundaries that each of you have developed along the way from your experiences with friends and in relationships?
I think what it's actually, friendships one thing. I think what that's helped me with in terms of relationships is with my relatives, with my family, because I've given quite a lot of time to friends, and what about my own family? They are my own family. Sometimes I probably take them for granted. They're there, and you meet them on certain occasions, and that's about it. And I feel it's not nice as a brother, or as an uncle or whatever, and I'm still guilty of it. I've certainly, I wouldn't say I've figured that out. I still take them for granted and think, oh, sorry, that's family. I can give them time another time, because they're always there. They're my family. They're not going anywhere. But that's made me kind of reflect. No, I have to take time out. I have to build those bonds and just share happy times with them as well. Because once they're gone, they're gone. Once they're and it is a lot of times where like my niece. I wish I'd spent more time with my niece as she's grown up and stuff like that. But I feel as if at that time it was my kind of youth, and I was very, very selfish. It was about me and me having a good time, and me, going out and building relationships, just having a good time basically. And I think, like my niece and my nephews even, they kind of did suffer the fact that I never had that uncle, niece, nephew relationship, and took them to cinemas more often, and take them to the beach in the summer or whatever, day outing or whatever. So I do regret that, but the fact that I do regret that and I do recognise that, I can do something about it now. It's not. I don't think it's ever too late. I don't think it's ever too late, even though they're older now. Some of them are actually married and they've got their own kids, but let's still do it, because it's never too late.
There is that something feeling myself as well. Do I give my family the dues they deserve? But then the back of my mind, it's like, yeah, it's blood, it's family, it's alright. They're not going to go anywhere. They're in the house anyway and all that. But it does sometimes I feel maybe more relaxed around friends than actually family. Just I feel that sometimes. Maybe I don't know, because after when I meet my friends, normally after a hard day's work, after a hard day's shift and everything, that's it. So everyone's kind of like, it's relaxing, chilling it. With family, it's like, I do feel sometimes maybe I should spend more time with family, maybe. And like you're saying, yourself, nephew, niece, I've got nephew, nieces as well, and I'm thinking, maybe I've not spent so much time I would like to with them as well, But like I was saying as well, it's never too late to change. You can change it right now.
I have been more open about myself and shared a lot more with my close friends than I have with my family.
I'm the same, I feel the same.
And I don't know why that is, to be honest. It's just how I feel.
Are you more genuine with your friends than you are with your family then?
I wouldn't say I'm dishonest or not genuine with my family. I just don't share, which is different from pretending to them. I just don't share it. They don't know it. It's not an issue.
It's like a different angle.
But with my friends, I can sit down, and I guess that's a great thing about having friends that way as well. But there are people you can turn to and sit down and have these chats, and but I've like my wife, her friends are her sisters. She doesn't share, and again, when she's having like conversations, discussing issues, she lets it all out with her sisters, and I think, I've not got that. It's pretty good, but I've not got that, and trying to do that right now, and sharing it with she does, it'd be very awkward. They'll be like, bro, you okay? What's wrong with you? Everything alright? It just never happened. It's never been established. But, they're happy with that. I'm happy with it. It's not that I've not got an avenue where I can kind of share I have an avenue, and if it is friends, it's friends. But I know my family will be there for me if if I had to pick up the phone and go, I need this, I know they're there. Likewise, they know it's the same. If you pick up the phone and say, I need this, then I'm there for them, sort of thing.
That kind of pressure, and I suppose as an example, financial pressure over the years, times at which I found myself struggling to get by, everything else seems much, much worse. And I've been more short with people, more irritable, more distracted from things that I want to focus on. And again, worrying about saying to people, I'm struggling with this, just compounds it somehow. And it's embarrassing as well. You know, those kind of issues where you, at points in your life, you're saying to people, well, I can't come out for a drink because I don't have any money. And I don't mean I don't have a fiver, I mean I don't have any money. It's embarrassing. And so I think all these things really mingle together, but the control issue for me, like you say, you know when you have got this. And if that's in doubt at all, then things start to get a bit shaky.
If I think back to the times in my life where I've sort of had shaky moments, with like financial, like the times where financially I'm struggling. It's funny because you look back on it now, and like there's times where like I've had like proper like meltdown moments. About like, for example, like £1,000 debt or something, and then you look at it now and you're like, it seems ridiculous, because like I could find £1,000, like, because I can see clearly of that scenario now, I could find £1,000 pretty easily. When you think about it, you could be like, well, I probably know at least 5 people immediately that if I literally sent them a text now, they would give me £1,000 to borrow.
Yeah.
It just seems ridiculous to get so worked up about it, but see, at the time, you're like, you just can't see the wood for the trees.
What do you think causes that tunnel vision?
I don't know. I think it's the lack of control. I think you feel like you've lost control, and I think you feel like everything's just gotten away from you, and then the only thing you can focus on is that thing that you've lost control of, and that's the only thing that your attention is focused on. So then everything else, like you say, you're short with people and all sorts. Because there's times where, that's happened to me, and I've just been like snappy and emotional and like, all sorts of stuff. And then and in hindsight, you're like, it just seems like the most ridiculous thing. I remember once I was in Glasgow, I was trying to move out of a flat with a guy that I absolutely detested living with. He was basically an alcoholic. Didn't have any friends in Glasgow really. I just met my now wife. I got swine flu, and then I'd saved up. My bank account got robbed, defrauded, so it was cleared out. So in the meantime, I was paid cash in a bar, which I kept in my bedside table, which he stole, or someone stole, and that was what I was going to use as deposit to move out of the flat. And then proper meltdown, proper meltdown. And I remember phoning my dad just in tears, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. It's ridiculous. I mean, it was £600. In the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world. And he was just like, I'll send you the £600. And I was like, yeah. Okay. It's just totally ridiculous. But see, at that moment, I was just like, that's the end. Do you know what I mean? It's just everything has just gone to shit. That's how it felt. And it was just ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know.
What led you to ask for help?
Nowhere else to turn. I think I'd exhausted every single conceivable option that I had. I think I didn't know what else to do. I was like, accounts are empty, cash is gone, alcoholic, feel like death because of the flu. Need to get out of this flat. Can't do this anymore. Pick up the phone. And I always, I don't know whether it's a pride thing, but I really don't like asking my dad for help for money, even though I know that he'll always give it to me. But I don't know. I just want to be independent. Fiercely so. So I'll always wait until like the last minute before I send the signal flare. You know what I mean? I'm the one in the Titanic stood on the tip as it's going down. Like, you know. But yeah, I don't know what that's about.
I was the same as well when I was growing up. My dad would always say to me, like, do you need any money, whatever? No, I'm fine. And then when I'd have some student debt or some problems, I would try everyone else or any other property, anything else, my dad last. And a lot of time, mine sorted out before, but I just didn't want to ask. It was a pride thing as well, because I wanted to be the man. I shouldn't have to go back to my dad and ask, I need some money now. That's what I felt at that time.
Probably you didn't want to let your dad down either.
That's the thing, let him down either. You know, that's what I felt. You know.
Yeah, because you want to feel like you've flown the nest.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have to feel like you have to go back and be like, you know, I flew the nest.
Yeah.
Well, about that. Turns out not so good at flying after all.
You know, you want to keep your parents proud that you've achieved something and you've made something of your life, and perhaps it's that kind of way where, oh bugger, you know, this is going to really kind of make my dad worry, like, well, what have you been doing with your life? You know, that you come up to me and you're, not that he wouldn't help, you know, they would help, but, you know,
and then it's the future as well. After that, it's the future. So it's like it's setting the precedent for like questioning everything in future when things are all right, and you're like, no, things are fine. That was just a blip. Now I don't need you questioning everything I do in future.
So how does that impact your mindset then, and your own perception of your identity as a man?
You just can't doubt yourself as well, and like you're saying as well, is you make that one mistake, it's never forgotten. You're always reminded that now, and then when you go forward, there is that a lot of comment here and there. You kind of remember that time, you know.
I think it's a pride thing. I do think it's a pride thing. Don't know.
I'm just thinking that, you know, there are situations I think we'll always find ourselves in which aren't going to be suitable. And I think that's inevitable. You're never going to be absolutely perfect. You're never always going to get the result that you want. But I mean, you found the solution by just picking up the phone and saying, your dad, I need the help. I think as guys, perhaps we don't do enough of that. I think there's options out there where there are people that do care for you, but it's making that approach, you know, making that admittance to say, I've got a problem or I'm in this situation. And I totally understand, you know, I would just keep, you know, accumulating the debt, but not asking, or go to my wife and go, you know what, things are a bit tight right now, or whatever, you know, just my overdraft's going bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm just waiting for that break in the job to kind of then, it will just clear it out. But that period of time that's there, it's obviously putting pressure on, and I'm hiding it, and I don't want them to know. And I know perhaps if I just put my hand out and ask for help, that it will resolve that problem, you know, and I wouldn't be in that situation. But it's admitting it, I think. It's admitting that you've fallen into that place, sort of thing. But then life's never ever going to, you know, you're never ever going to get the result that you want all the time.
I wonder if there's like a social, you know, we're used to the sort of construct that, like, you know, man provides, woman does all the home stuff, and so then there's this, whether you're consciously doing it or not, you feel emasculated by that process.
That you're asking, you know.
And you're like, I should be the provider here.
But who says you should?
Society. Well, what I mean is we perceive society to say that. I have quite a lot of conversations with my wife about, are we looking after ourselves? Should we change this? Should we adjust that? to be honest, actually, the conversations that I have the most about sort of health actually seem to be around my parents, because my dad recently had like a hernia operation, and my mum's recently had an ankle replacement, which I didn't even know was a thing recently until she had that. I was like, wait, so they've replaced your whole ankle apparently? It's quite a new thing apparently. But they've had to do exercises, and my dad was getting a bit older, and before his hernia thing, he wanted to go on a ski trip with us, and he wanted to learn how to like ski, and so he was doing all these exercises so that he could do skiing and stuff. I always admired him for that, because like, you know, he's not young, like he's in his 70s now. You know, sort of late 60s at the time when we went skiing, and he did it, you know, and he used to talk about the exercises he was doing, and like, you know, he'd be like, oh, you know, he had this issue with his shoulder, so he had to like regularly, like, he'd be like lifting tins of beans at home and doing stupid exercises. So there's always my parents, them talking about it, and I sort of have definitely taken note that it's become more important to them now, and so that's sort of registered in my head that like, I don't want it to be too late. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd rather it's not going to get too late. That said, my father-in-law used to play football all the time and has had like 3 hip replacements. You know, and like some things are just beyond your control. You know, like some things are just gonna come and get you. Yeah. And you just, I suppose, try and make sure that when they do, you're in the best possible position to deal with that. Do you know what I mean?
I've got a friend of mine, he's quite similar to your friend. He's a Brazilian capoeira instructor. And he's like trains at 4 or 5 hours every single day. He's a vegan now as well. I don't know what stuff you're talking about. It's some, I don't know what it is. Is it a paste or something they eat? He talks about fitness. He's always encouraging me. Even when you talk to him, while you talk to him, he'll just go to the side and start doing some push-ups against a wall or something like okay. And he's always, I mean, he's quite encouraging. He's quite good that way as well. But I say to myself, I could probably do it for like. Well, I did have one kind of session with him. He was doing this one set. I couldn't keep up. Within 15 minutes, I was done. And he goes, "That's a warm-up." I was like, "Okay." I actually thought it was a proper session, and he goes, "No, that's just a warm-up." But I was, no. So I seen him doing that, and I see how much a toll has on him as well. It's good. I mean, that's what he's into. It's fine, yeah. But I mean, he does get a lot of injuries here and there as well. But I'm like, it's too much. But like you said about family as well, mum and dad. I look at my mum and dad as well. They're both diabetic. Right. So there are circumstances. I mean, I do kind of, when I go out, if I'm gonna, when I drink coffee, I never take sugar. So I do them a little bit here and there, sort of thing. There's a lot of things I cut out here and there, but yeah, like just when you mentioned that, I kind of thought of that as well. I think it is back on mine as well.
I think so, because I think like your parents are a lot of time you, whether you like it or not, you end up following their path, whether you like it or not. And I do, you know, and then like, oh. But as much as I see, you know, there are things that inspire me about my parents and that I admire about them and the things that they've done, there's also things that you learn, I think, from them and the mistakes that they've made, and perhaps the times where you go, I wish I'd, you know, if they'd have known that this was going to be them now, maybe they'd have done things differently 10 or 15 years ago. But I'm in a position to learn that now.
That's my perception exactly. Seeing how my parents' generation are now, you see them, and they're all just sitting doing nothing, and they just feel incapacitated and feel, oh, we're old now, and that's it. We're meant to sit here and do nothing, and you're like, oh, no way. I hope I'm still, even if it's a struggle, but I'm still physically able to get up and do things. And like, I admire the fact that your dad, you know, at that age went to ski slopes. I think, wow, you know, just that concept of doing it. It might have been a mega struggle for him to do it, but the fact that he actually had consciously made that decision to do that is amazing. Totally so. That's like, wow, because you just don't expect it, you know, from when you get to that age to get into that. That seems quite extreme, you know, maybe going out bowling or something as a hobby or something, but to go down ski slopes is like, wow, that's amazing. But really, as you're saying, you start thinking now, you don't want to be that person, but you're inspired by these kind of stories, and you're thinking, I need to do it now, not later on. If I do it now, it might become a bit easier by the time I get there. But it's interesting, Usman was saying, because we know we're kind of in the same kind of group of friends, and this guy who does the capoeira, he's actually happy, and he doesn't do it to put it in your face like I'm fitter than you. He's actually very encouraging, and he'll bring you along. It's like he's in a good place physically, and he knows physically he's healthy, he's good, and he's very encouraging. He's like, just try a bit. You know, he knows not everyone's going to be able to do what he can do. You know, the squats and the chin-ups and the things. He won't even say that. He'll be very, very moderate, but encouraging to say, look, make a little bit of a change, you know, at an acceptable kind of level, and go towards, think about it, you know, and kind of push you that way. Yeah. But the other thing, I think, in terms of physical health, it also is to do with your mental health as well. For us, I think I realised that later on in life when I started taking my faith more seriously, because one of the things in our faith is about your spirituality, because you're exercising, physically, but you're exercising yourself spiritually as well, and that obviously affects your mental health as well. And it's things like, there's a month that we fast, it's Ramadan, and you refrain from eating, but it's not just the physical eating, it's all refrain from maybe cheating in silly wee things or whatever, or a wee lie here and there, but just innocent lies and stuff. It's complete refraining from things. So spiritually, you're cleansing yourself, you know, your whole being is getting changed. And not just that, the fact that you're fasting, there's obviously, I'm sure, medical research that says how beneficial that is physically as well, because you're just stuffing your face with so much food, and it's sometimes unnecessary. Sometimes your body needs a break, and it needs to kind of respond in a different way. So I think that aspect of it, I think, encouraged me to look at it, the physical side and the spiritual side, connecting them both together, and using that as a positive way to go forward with my health as well. And out with that month, to be honest, it's difficult, but I'm still conscious of that idea. I don't manage to achieve it all the time, but I'm conscious of it, which is a start for me anyway.
It's like back in your mind, you're like, I can do it for a month. I can continue doing it as well. For part of the year as well.
The fact that you have a desire to try, I think, you know, whether you achieve it or not, but you've got the idea, it makes it, I get it, you know, that kind of, it clicks for you. I think having at least that awareness, you can work on it then. But if you're not even there, then, you know, it's going to be an uphill struggle. You could just thingy. But I think it's, for me, it's two things. And the other thing, you were talking about the yoga thing. A lot of the yoga thing, generally, my kind of perception of it was, it's physical and it's spiritual. It's to do with the mind. And my wife, she started getting into the kind of yoga. She does it every morning, just the kind of basics of it, And it's that thing, as you get older, you become more conscious. I need to do something here. And it's not just going to come to me, and you know, just not words ain't going to do it. I need to physically get out there and commit to it. And she swears by it. She's like, you know, she feels lighter. Her mind feels a lot, at ease. And you know, so there's things out there. Just we need to know more about it and realise the benefits of it.
If we say we have a mask, I know that I take it on and put it off all the time with everybody. And there are probably no people in my life that ever get just raw me all the time. And maybe that's what everybody does to stay balanced.
I think myself as well, you're saying there, I think as well, for me, it's probably only a few individuals I've been raw to a certain extent even. It's not fully.
Yeah.
I would speak to somebody, they'll be comfortable, the vast move, they talk to me. But when it comes to my turn, I'm like, I'm cool.
Yeah.
I've always done that. I'm alright, it's cool. It's alright. Very rarely I'd go, yep, actually have this. If I do even talk about it, it'll be just a wee bit here, a wee bit there, just to kind of test the surface a wee bit, but then I'll back down.
So is there a difference between a mask and a boundary? And if there is, what is it?
You just have to gauge who you're talking to and how much they're taking in, and then you know what, there's no point taking this any further. And then you just brush it off, on comes a mask. You don't review anymore. And that is a boundary, I guess, and that's defined by who you're interacting with, I guess.
Can I ask a question of your own? So, in my professional life, I come across mixed gender meetings. Well, I say mixed gender, often say, for example, 80% women, 20% men. And the men just talk too damn much. I don't know if you come across that in your lives, and if so, how would you kind of handle it? Because it's something, I'm aware of in conversation, and I try to draw back from this. You made me think of that when you sort of say, you're taking a step back, encouraging other people to speak. I don't know. It's something I haven't really got a great answer to, but I see it happening.
And I have a few examples of that. Recently we held a meeting where we specifically invited women to talk about their lives, and there were a handful of largely middle-aged white men dominating the conversation, and like has been said already, saying, this is how you should think, this is what you should do. But largely in my working life over the last 30 years, I've worked mostly in professions where women have been in management positions. Most of my managers have been female, and I've worked, I suppose, in sectors where that male dominance hasn't been there. Always when this topic comes up, I don't usually have something to contribute because I've not really seen it in action, and I think in particular sectors it does happen, definitely. But from my experience, and personally speaking, I don't speak enough in meetings. I've been told over the years, over and over and over again, get involved, say what you think. And so I know that's one thing I'm not guilty of.
So what's the role of silence then? And what does it serve?
Yeah, I one of my strengths is that I'm able to listen properly, and I do listen carefully. And those same managers that have told me off for looking bored in meetings or not engaging enough, always when they've asked me a question, have always had a full response, and I've always said afterwards, you always know what the answer is, so why don't you contribute it at the time? But I haven't changed since I was a boy. I've always been quiet and liked listening and watching what's going on, and I'm better in a one-to-one situation than I ever am in a group. So I suppose silence keeps me safe in a way. It keeps me to what I know I'm good at, and it allows me to listen, because when I'm talking, I'm not listening. I'm thinking about what I'm going to say, and I would rather hear about other people. And I know myself very well. I've had 50 years of knowing who I am. It's not that exciting. Other people are always much more interesting. Yeah.
I think, sometimes being silent there's wisdom in that as well, because sometimes you need to close that voice inside you and start listening to others, because like being here, being silent and listening to all your opinions and experiences, I'm learning a lot as well. Whereas if I just kept talking and go away, I'm none the wiser. I'm the same guy who walked through that door going back out there as well. So there is wisdom in just listen. it's not necessarily you always have to speak. Just be quiet sometimes.
Do you think you learnt that at a particular age, or over time, or
Particular
was there an
age.
incident that made you go, ah, right, that's how that works?
I think when just in your youth, you're just too busy. You don't spend time sitting down chatting with people and stuff like that. So I think when that period came in my life where we would sit and have conversations with people, guys coming up and then we having chatting away and stuff. Sometimes I'd talk and I'd think, and then they would talk and I think, man, I was an idiot for saying what I said. I was better just keep my mouth shut. And hearing other people, sometimes I thought, that's actually a very good response. Why did I not think like that? Not that some sort of plagiarism where I'll say what they're saying, but moreover, I'm being taught, I'm learning, how to respond. I've got the same feelings. I know what the guy's feeling, but he said that and he's versed it very well. And and I don't sound like an idiot, maybe the way I said it, sort of thing. But I think it happened later on in life for me. It wasn't something earlier on, and never even thought of it, to be honest. I was too busy enjoying myself. Very critical, but why did you do that? But you shouldn't have been like that. But you, rather than listening to her, whereas a friend wouldn't do that. A friend would sit and go, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the beauty of having a friend. They don't criticise you the way family criticise you, but the family criticise you for to benefit you, to put, to steer in the right way. Yeah, to consult you, and
It seems harsh.
whereas friends tend to be more diplomatic and more kind of, on your side with that situation.
Yeah, although I can think of some situations. So, like, I'll make this one up here. If we were best buddies and we went out for a coffee, and you just said, "I've got no money in the bank, and I've just bought a Jaguar," I would say, "Yeah, you might need to rethink that one." Or I might say, "You're a bit of a jerk, aren't you? Sort it out, man." That kind of thing. But it's I think there's a really good friend will also point out your errors and all that kind of thing as well as being, to take your points as well, being supportive and more on your side, because they want what's best for you.
It was a shock for them. The way people speak, sometimes you're talking about Glaswegian being upfront. In Africa, in Uganda, they say it as it is. I'll give you an example. If you put on weight and you're fat, they will say it like that. But yet, on the other hand, back home, if you're fat, it means you've got the money. It's a different thing.
For connotation.
Yes. So whereas here, if you've lost the weight and you've got you're slim, then you're doing well. Yes. So we go with the kids and we take them to the grandparents and the aunties and the uncles, and they look at them and oh, look at this fat boy. And for the kids, they're like, why are you saying that to me?
Sanctuary. My house.
Silence.
Do what I want to do. Switch the TV on when I want. Eat what I want. Open the fridge and have what I want. And like they come back and go, "Oh, do you miss me?" And I'm like, "No." And they think, "What kind of father are you? Can't your kids are away for the day, a couple of days, and you didn't have any." No.
I didn't miss you. I'm glad you're back. But I didn't miss you.
No.
I've got this horrible image of you now as a kind of a Homer Simpson sitting there in his underpants with a can of beer.
That's it.